Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sonia Leo, and I attend middle school in New Jersey. Welcome to this session of King's Global Impact. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has been one of my role models as he stood up for equality, peace, and freedom so that many of our dreams are realized today. He was an American, a minister, a poet, a lover of words and freedom, a family man, a talented speaker, and a seeker of truth and justice. He led massive nonviolent protests that caught the attention of the entire world, all stemming from his belief that all men are created equal under God. He will be remembered in the history books as a man beyond reproach, a man who received the Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 35, a champion for the rights of those who have none. His legacy lives on. It lives on in the hearts of like-minded followers seeking true equality. Today, as we gather here for this wonderful event, I'm honored to introduce and welcome our Honorable Tahesha Way, the Secretary of State for New Jersey. During a career that has spanned over 2 decades, Secretary Way has been a judge, educator, public servant, and has worked for numerous philanthropic causes. She was sworn in as New Jersey's 34th Secretary of State in February 2018. As Secretary of State, she holds one of the nation's oldest constitutional offices and leads a department with a diverse portfolio. She serves as New Jersey's top election official, overseeing the state division of elections and also all of the state government offices. These are just some of her many responsibilities. Throughout her career, Secretary Way has devoted herself to public service. She is a graduate of Brown University and holds a Juris Doctor from the University of Virginia School of Law. So I once again welcome our very honorable NJ Secretary of State, Tahesha Way.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Sonia, for the kind invitation. I hope everyone is enjoying the conference. It is my honor to kick off a discussion about Dr. King's global impact, which is of huge significance because Dr. King is recognized throughout the world as a leader of the successful movement of nonviolent resistance. MLK received a Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo, Sweden for his leadership in 1964 and honorary degrees from various colleges and universities in this space. At the same time, he would be the first to credit those who came before him, the leaders who forged a way influencing both the philosophical foundations of Dr. King's advocacy and the strategies he used to make himself heard. MLK was inspired
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Martin Luther King Commission for organizing MLK Youth Conference. I wish to thank you for inviting me to speak to the youth of today, to connect them with the ideas of Martin Luther King the Great. On 15th January, recently, we celebrated his birth anniversary, his birthday, and today we've gathered to celebrate his ideas and his legacy. Martin Luther King was a giant He is a global icon. His values, his universal values, his fight for justice, his willingness to overcome insurmountable challenges continue to reverberate in our lives. He may not be with us, but his legacy continues to inspire us and encourage us. Martin Luther King admired Mahatma Gandhi. He drew from his ideas, from his principles, and took inspiration from his fight against imperialism. Martin Luther King visited India in 1959, that seminal year. He spent almost a month touring various parts of India connected to the life of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi never visited the United States, but his legacy continues to live on here in this continent through the life, through the struggle of Martin Luther King. There are several stories about Martin Luther King's famous pilgrimage to India, where he tried to rediscover Mahatma Gandhi for himself. Those writings, in fact, one of the article that was written about MLK's journey to India is titled "My Trip to the Land of Gandhi." This writing and others continue to inspire us, continue to encourage the youth in India, in the United States, and elsewhere. Martin Luther King was a giant personality. We all know that. His commitment, his determination, his will to succeed, his idea of never to lose ambition. These are some of his values that should inspire the youth today. In today's competitive world, the youth needs to be a lot more resilient, a lot more prepared to take on the challenges of the world. And these very basic principles and life of Martin Luther King should inspire the young minds of our times. In today's world, where our lives are beset with massive challenges, global challenges, climate change, the pandemic, if we were to look for how to deal with these global challenges in the ideas of Martin Luther King, I think we can draw several examples, draw a lot of strength from his life, and all that will help us in dealing with these larger challenges of our times. We live in a digital age. There is every temptation for young people and for old people to somehow look at our life in this digital and technology age only in terms of machine. There is this temptation to somehow distance ourselves from the human connect. Martin Luther King teaches us his idea of togetherness, his idea of brotherhood, his idea of marching hand in hand, teaches us that as humanity, we must be together. If we were to borrow his ideas and his teachings, in this age, in this machine age, we'll do so much better to create a better society, a more loving society, a society where there is compassion and there is kindness for one and all. The global pandemic, COVID-19, has taught us that we have to be together if we want to succeed. These are values that resonate so deep in the voice, in the legacy, in the history books dedicated to Martin Luther King. If you look at closely, I've been in diplomacy for the last 20 years or more, and more. I studied international relations very closely. The founding principles of international relations: sovereign equality, equality among people, equality among men and women, principles of peace, stability, and progress and prosperity for one and all. These are values that were championed by Martin Luther King. He always emphasized on the idea of togetherness, and we need more of togetherness today than ever. For these reasons, international relations and international engagement owes a lot to Martin Luther King and to such giants that we have seen in our lives and in our country, in our society. Today, we need more of togetherness, less of boundaries, less of separation, more of we, less of I. And in that respect, if we were to look at what Martin Luther King had to say, I think we'll be inspired to move on that journey of togetherness. Let us walk together. Let us build a better world. And in that regard, let us draw from what Martin Luther King had to give us. I encourage the young minds, our young friends, to read about Martin Luther King, because in his writings, in his teachings, and in his life, you will find many answers to the questions that bother you. You'll have answers that will help you overcome challenges in your mind, and you will get answers to lead a happy life. Thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure and a delight for me to join this event.
Kick me out, Ange.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Appiah, and I am the Black Youth Coalition organizer at Salvation and Social Justice, an organization that aims to liberate public policy theologically. I am also a recent graduate from Rutgers University, Newark. One of the things that I admire about Dr. King is the way in which he uses faith in Jesus to bring people from all walks of life together to seek justice, which is something that I am learning to do with my organization. Today, I am honored to have with us Secretary Way and Her Excellency Abena Busia to talk about Dr. King's legacy that he had on the world. So I'm really excited to engage in questions, and also later on in our conversation, we would love to hear from all the young people in the chat. What are some of the questions that you have for our dignitaries today? So beginning with questions, I would like to ask the both of you, can you both please speak on how you became interested in your careers and how Dr. King impacted you personally and professionally?
All right. I'll let the secretary go first. I can't hear the secretary.
Would our ambassador like to address the audience first?
I'll be very
given she's
happy.
international.
I'll be very happy to.
I guess there's maybe a technical issue. So in the interim, while it's worked out, I will actually respond, if I may. And thank you, Grace, for all you're doing. And I just want to say, you know, it's an honor to actually be here at this youth conference, because for me, I think that that's really one of the major spaces in which Dr. Martin Luther King is trying to address in uplifting equity in our society, and of course, instilling the ideas of service in terms of our youth moving forward from a future standpoint, and also just youth engagement. Now, I can say that what had always inspired me to somehow get involved in government, I was actually, I went to law school. And even before that, I was raised in a public service home from public workers, my mom and my dad, who always tried to remind both my brother and myself that it should never be about the me, it should always be about the we. So I really want to say my defining moment in really trying to realize how I could serve my community actually came from an unfortunate situation in my life, which now I really see as, a turning moment, is when I suffered a cerebral hemorrhage at the age of 19. At that point in time, I really was uncertain as to what I should be doing. I was in college, I was interested in English, I was interested in the law, but at the same time, that moment of, experiencing somewhat of a life-threatening moment, if you will, really made me seek and reflect upon what I could do. So just like how I saw my medical professionals help bring me back and make me whole again, if you will, I said I really would want to be committed and try to assist others in some way to bridge what they're going through and make them better, if you will, societally. And so I look upon that moment at the age of 19, and that's when I really began to become engaged more so in servicing our community and looking for ways to tap into social organizations, grassroots organizations, with the understanding of what can I do to contribute, even if it's on a small scale, to seek common ground and make others and their situations better, to advocate for others. And I've been blessed to be in various positions. I know I served as a judge who, in following the rule of law at the same time, wanted to make sure that all litigants who came before me felt as if they were treated equally under the rule of law. I know that it's an honor to serve as the 34th Secretary of State in New Jersey, in which I oversee a diverse department, which not only speaks to civic engagement, such as our Martin Luther King Jr. Commemorative Commission, there's elections, there's also arts and culture, and there's, the economic component. But at the same time, what we seek to do at the Department of State, what I seek to do is making certain that in all aspects of our portfolios, we are being inclusive. We are servicing the needs of our New Jersey residents, all 9 million of our great residents, to the best of our ability, and encouraging them, especially in portfolios like volunteerism, to be a part of this grand experience of our democracy. And at the same time, it has always been the belief underscoring that in service, that we understand that we are respectful towards one another.
Secretary, thank you for that. I think
Madam Ambassador?
Thank you. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? Thank you. I think as somebody who grew was born in Ghana and grew up in all over the world. I grew up in Holland and Mexico and England. I think I can best exemplify the impact of Martin Luther King on me by telling two short personal stories and then talking about Martin Luther King in Ghana. You know, back in 1990, when Nelson Mandela was released from prison, I had the privilege of reading a poem I had written for him on the steps of City Hall when he came to Los Angeles. And that poem, it's a long 10-minute poem. I'm not going to read all of it, but I want to share how it begins. It begins, I know Patrice Lumumba had been sometime dead, and Sylvanos Olympio only just, though I'm not sure why, as I try to reconnect myself with my child's mind and the memories of events that jumble there, a knowledge of our distant world pieced together through overheard conversations and voices on the radio. In 1962, the world was a very different place. I didn't know where Montgomery was, but I'd learned the meaning of boycott. Didn't understand Mau Mau, except it taught the impact of lies and what all freedoms cost. I wanted to share that because what I was doing in that poem was actually thinking of the 27 years that Mandela had been in jail. And for me, Martin Luther King was central to my little girl's idea of freedom fighting. He's there with the fight of Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, Sylvanos Olympio in Togo, Mandela, of course, and all of this fervor. And I mentioned the Montgomery bus boycott because I remember as a little girl in Holland asking father what a boycott was and him having to explain it. Because growing up in England, it's a little silly, but Geoffrey Boycott was the name of a very famous English cricketer. So I knew the word boycott as a proper name. And I remember my father explaining to me the political and social implications of a boycott. So that was my introduction to Martin Luther King. But then, you know, 7 years or whatever it is later, I remember my mother's birthday is April the 5th. But England is ahead in time of the United States. I remember the 5th of April, 1968. It's the only day in my entire childhood that mother went to bed without waiting for us to go to bed. Because it was her birthday and we had gone shopping that day and bought her a present and everything else. And we always gave her her present after the evening meal. We'd eat together and then we'd go to the living room for tea and cake and turn on the television because the evening news came on. And I remember that day we made the tea, had her cake, we turned on the evening news and saw every city in the United States in flames. Because we hadn't watched the news that day until that evening. And that's when we learned that Martin Luther King had been assassinated. It was mother's birthday. She didn't want to cry in front of us. So she just put her gifts down and went upstairs and never came back down again. And that's the only day in our childhood that mother went to bed without checking on us and locking the doors and saying goodnight, was when we got the news of the day Martin Luther King was killed. For us, he was the icon that he has become. And for Martin Luther King in Ghana, I was very struck when I was asked to take part in this event. I went back to look at a sermon because, you know, Martin Luther King was in Ghana on Independence Day. He attended the independence of Ghana, met Nkrumah, our first prime minister, met my father, who was leader of the opposition on the day of independence. And King preached a sermon. And it's interesting because in his sermon, he links India, he links Gandhi. So Gandhi links both India, the United States, and Ghana. Because in this sermon, Martin Luther King made mention of the fact that Nkrumah, in his autobiography, says how he was inspired by Gandhi. And Ghana was both real and metaphor for Martin Luther King. In this sermon, he uses Ghana as a metaphor. He uses Ghana as a way of thinking through reaching freedom and the promised land. He talks about the struggle against colonialism being akin to the children of Israel wandering in the wilderness. And then he makes the point that even when they reached the promised land, there were giants in the land. That is, there are difficulties to overcome. And Ghana represents that. But at the same time, she represents that aspiration that can succeed. But Ghana was also real. Martin Luther King was there. He came back and he showed slides and so on about what it meant for a new nation to be facing with hope and some trepidation the faces the challenges that we had. And I like that because I think for the youth of today, it's important for us to look at Martin Luther King as well as our own histories in both the reality and the myth. They're inspirational myths, but we must never forget what it costs. It cost King his life. Ghana struggled. We're in our fourth republic. The first republic failed. The second republic failed. The third republic failed. We're in our fourth republic, which is a joy. So I want to end by saying, I am praying for you in the United States because you have taken for granted what it means to have a constitution that has held a complex society together for 250 years. Please, 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 don't lose it. You must treasure. It's an imperfect document, but everything we do is imperfect. Ghana is only 63 years old, and we are already in our fourth republic, which means we've had 4 constitutions. You've had 1. Do not let it be destroyed. Tomorrow is going to be, next Wednesday is going to be one of the most important days in the more than 250-year history of the United States. Your Constitution has to hold. That is also an inspiration that we can learn from the lesson of Martin Luther King.
Thank you, Ambassador Busia and Secretary Wei. That was like so inspiring, and there were such powerful words. I didn't even know that. That was just so, I don't even know how to explain it. So inspiring for all of us, even for the audience. I can't believe it was. Thank you also, Secretary Wei. That was also very nice. Yeah, thank you.